Holy Wire Mod.
Holy Wire Mod here, and this is going to be tutorial 3 in the Lewis series, where we're going to be making a continuation from where we left off last time. And it's going to be going over functions, hooks, and a subset of hooks called GM, which stands for game mode and is based on the base game mode that we mentioned in the last video. So let's start by making a function, and our function needs a name, so we'll call it spawn. And we have parentheses by spawn, and this is going to be for our arguments, which is going to be play of type player. Now, we have to end the function, or else it won't work. Now, what if we say that we want to print some chat into the player's client-side chat box? So we'd put chat print, and we'll say, you have spawned. Alright, fair enough. Alright, so on its own, this function does nothing. So we're going to need something to call the function. So we'll put hook add. And there are a bunch of hooks which we can use. For right now, I bet you guessed it, we're going to use something related to spawning. So we'll go to hooks GM, and we go to player, and it should say player spawn right here. Alright, so as you can see, it says GM player spawn and player as an argument, which is mentioned here. Now it's called whenever a player is spawned, so it's pretty self-explanatory, I know, but for sake of learning, we are going to simplify this as much as possible. So we're calling the hook, or we're adding the hook player spawn, and this hook has a second argument, which is going to be the name of this hook. So we're going to say hook name. It can be anything you like, it doesn't have to be hook name. And then the third argument is going to be the function that we're calling, which in this case will be spawn. So just to recap real quick, when the player spawns, this hook gets triggered and calls the function spawn, which is a byproduct of the player spawning, and the player, as a result of spawning, gets a message put into their chat box on the client side. Now we can add comments with double dashes, and we're going to call this method the hook add method, which has its appropriate time and place, but there is actually a better preferred method which I like to use, which we put function, then we put GM, because you remember the hooks are of subset GM right here, so GM player spawn. And we're going to be using this syntax right here. So we'll say GM player spawn, and then we'll put the argument just as it is up here. And then we're going to end it, so don't forget. And I'm going to copy and paste this right here into chat. Now, this does the exact same thing as this, but you notice this has one less line associated with it. So this is why it's the preferred method. So let's say in addition to the player spawning, it also triggers a print command, which is going to print something into the console of your server. So we can say that player, and we'll put a little space there, and we have ... Now this links two strings together, concatenates them. So we can say player's nick, or the name of the player, and then we're going to put another ... and we're going to put space has spawned. So in total it's going to say player colon player name has spawned in the console, and this is going to print something in the chat. So let's open up Gary's mod and get the server running. But before we do, we have to make an edit to start that bot. So I want you to take notice in Gary's mod, and we go to game modes, and take note of what your game mode is called. Right here it's my game mode, and the text file is my game mode. Notice they're the same name, which is very important. And as such, we open start.bot, and we'll edit it. And on this line right here, where it says start, after game Gary's mod, or really anywhere after that, you can put plus and then put game mode, and then you put the name of your game mode. So we'll put my game mode, and we'll Control S to save, exit out, and let's click it, and that's going to start the server up. Alright, so when the server is started and it says fact secure mode is activated, that means the server is up and running. Let's go to multiplayer, local network, and notice it says my game mode instead of sandbox. So we want this, and we're going to connect to the server. And here we go. Actually, you know what? I'm going to cut through this. Alright, so the server is now up and running. And let's check the chat box, and it says you have spawned. So as indicated here, that's by this line, you have spawned. And if we go to the console, we'll see you have spawned right here, or player Holy has spawned in the third line from the bottom, which player Nick has spawned. So that's going to conclude this method and the player spawn function right here. I mean, like I said, you have a whole different multitude of different hooks that you can use. Like if you want to do something when the player connects, and you can trigger that, you can get their name and their IP, and there's all kinds of things you can mess around with. But anyway, if there's any questions on the topic, please let me know, and I'll be seeing you in the next video.